Hi, everybody. My name is Crockett, Cumulus Media, Allentown, 100.7 LEV, and it's time to spring clean your health. It's that time of year where we're going through the closets and cleaning out the kids' rooms and the bathrooms and doing all those sorts of things. But certainly it is a time that we could take a step back and maybe start to think about our health a little bit more. The weather is getting nicer. Maybe you're starting to think about exercise. Maybe you're thinking about just getting out in the sunshine a little bit more. And it's definitely a good time to start thinking about spring cleaning your health. And I've got just the guy here to help us talk about that today. He is Dr. Eric Eustice. He is the Vice President of Medical Affairs and Emergency Department Medical Director at St. Luke's Sacred Heart Campus. Dr. Eustice, thank you so much for joining us today. So today we want to talk about spring cleaning your health. And spring cleaning isn't something that should just be reserved for the home, as we've mentioned so far. Now that the warmer weather has arrived, we all want to take a moment and clean our health and learn what positive steps you can take to take charge of your well-being. So Dr. Eustice, I'll just jump right into it with this. After months of living through all this COVID pandemic stuff, is the time right to begin returning to some sense of normalcy by resuming activities previously enjoyed pre-pandemic?
So thank you for having me on. So happy to be here and talk about this topic. I'm pretty passionate about it, especially with the year we've had during this pandemic. So the question is can we get back to some sort of normalcy? And I think we can in limited amounts. So I think COVID's still out there. We're getting the vaccine. We're making sure that the public is being vaccinated and protected. But we still have to be careful. I think the nice thing about the warmer weather in the springtime is that we're starting to get outside more, which allows us greater social distancing, allows us to maybe have those parties in an outdoor setting so that you can get back to meeting with friends and family in an outdoor setting so you're not all crammed inside, so to speak. So yes, I think starting out with some normalcy, especially in the warmer weather, is what we need to do for our sanity, I think.
I would go ahead and co-sign that with you. I'll agree with the doctor on that one. So when it comes to getting the COVID vaccine, what advice do you have? We're starting to see that the numbers of people who can go in, we're getting to the different stages, the different phases. Just what advice do you have as people are either getting ready to get their first shot, maybe getting ready for their second shot? Just different advice you have when it comes to getting the COVID vaccine.
So I would say if you're able to sign up and get the vaccine and you're scheduled, great for you. I think it's a way for us to get back to that normalcy, which we just talked about. So the more people that are vaccinated, the safer we will as a public to meet together and get back to our normal lives. And if you're on the fence of getting the vaccine, maybe talk to somebody that has already received it. If you know friends or family, ask them about their experience, how well it was, how easy it was. At St. Luke's, we're making it very easy for patients to come in, get the vaccine, and wait 15 minutes and then be on your way. So you can get it during your lunch break if you need to. One of the things that I would say is if you're signed up for the vaccine, make sure that you keep that appointment, because there are a lot of people that are trying to get the vaccine, especially in the early stages, that were unable to. So if you're going to get your vaccine, you're signed up, keep that appointment, because if not, make sure you cancel it so that somebody else can take the spot.
Yeah, not only just not show up, but actually cancel it ahead of time. Give everybody.
I would say if you cannot make that appointment, make sure you cancel it so we can give it to the next person that's able to receive it.
Absolutely. I think maybe that's something that people kind of forget in this whole process. Just like, oh, I can't make this appointment. There's going to be a ton of time that I can go and get it. Well,
Right.
Obviously these vaccines have a shelf life. So you guys absolutely have a quick turnaround with that stuff. So if you are, just a general statement to the public, if you are set up for an appointment and you feel like you need to cancel, you know you're going to have to cancel, please get in ahead of time, just to give everybody the time to try to fill that spot.
Exactly. We want to make sure we're not wasting any vaccine. So if we have that appointment scheduled, we're going to give it to the next person in the line. So
Excellent. So we've mentioned spring quite a bit here. And so that means getting outdoors, like you said, getting the activities going. So exercise is certainly something, and just activity in general. It's going to be so nice to just be out in the sun.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Eustice, it's going to be good to get back out there again. So as exercise and activity levels tend to ramp up with the warmer weather activities, what precautions should people take so that they don't end up being sidelined with injuries?
So it's funny. I'm an emergency room doctor, so I see a lot of those sprains and fractures, broken bones for patients that are getting out of that cold weather. being not mobile for the last 6 months. They go out, they go for a bike ride, they go for a run, and they injure themselves. So what you want to do is start off slow. So if you've been inactive for several months and this is your first time getting outside to maybe exercise or go for walks, making sure that you have the right proper shoes, making sure that you're easing into your workouts or your outdoor activities so that you're not jumping right to the gun and going full steam, because that's when you injure yourself. I would also say it's helpful to, I would say, warm up or stretch, maybe get a little bit loose before you go for that exercise. So that could be a couple minutes of stretching, maybe a light warm up walk, so that you're not going straight from the couch out for that 10-mile jog or whatever you're going to do. So just ease into it. I wouldn't go full steam ahead for exercising right off the bat, right? You wouldn't have somebody sitting on the couch and then run a marathon. So anything you're going to do from activity wise, making sure you're slowly getting back to what you want to do for the summer will help prevent those injuries.
I don't know how long it would actually take me to do that 10-mile run you were talking about. Or you might need a sundial for me to get all. It's a walking pace for me. So we talked about kind of easing into it. But what about time? Like, how many times a week can we kind of get into the habit of? You always hear the 10,000 steps and stuff like that. Get your 30 minutes in a day. So how many days should we kind of give ourselves a chance to relax, get back into it, specifically if you've been kind of in a sedentary lifestyle?
So the CDC recommends 150 minutes of vigorous exercise, aerobic exercise per week. Now that can be split up 30 minutes, 5 days a week. You're not going to do 150 minutes all in one shot. They also recommend 2 days a week of some sort of muscle strength exercise. So that would be maybe a few air squats, some push-ups, lifting a gallon of milk, doing some curls, whatever it may be. So that stimulating those muscles. I will say that even your daily activities can be counted towards that exercise goal. So for instance, if you're outside gardening, moving around, moving some dirt around, whatever it may be that you would do normally in the springtime, we plant flowers, we plant a garden, that's activity. And you have to count that as your 10,000 steps. Or that low level activity that you're doing throughout the day helps burn calories, helps keep you active, keep you mobile. So you don't need to go out, like we said, run a marathon or 10 miles, but the normal activities you would do, walking to your car from a grocery store. So for instance, if you're going to the grocery store, park a little bit farther away. Those are your extra steps that you would get without straining yourself or taking up a significant amount of time during the day. So that's the CDC's recommendation. But remember, any activity is good activity.
I think what I'm taking away from this is when my wife tells me to go get the mulch bags out of the back of the car, I'll say, honey, I'm not supposed to go this quick now. Let's get the wheelbarrow. Let's pick one up. Yep. I'm not, usually it's throw them over your shoulder and carry them into the backyard. So I'm going to tell her Dr. Eustice told me I don't have to do that. But so many of us over this time during during winter, we hibernated a little bit, Sure. Put a little bit of that extra winter weight on. So how can people get back on track to healthy eating and to lose those extra pounds, myself included?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm included in that as well. So I think not just the winter, but the pandemic itself, I think we all kind of took an excuse. Okay, maybe I'm going to drink a little bit more alcohol than I normally would. Maybe I'll eat that sweet or that cookie that's sitting there, or and we use that for stress sometimes to combat stress, especially with the pandemic. So how do we get back on track? Because I think springtime is the perfect opportunity to make a change in your life. So a lot of times we say the New Year's resolutions, which go by the wayside. I think spring is the perfect opportunity because you have the warmer weather. It's actually changes the season, and this is your time to jumpstart. What I would say is, and the CDC recommends this as well, so making sure you're getting a lot of fruits and vegetables, eating some healthy protein sources. So that would be maybe lean meats such as chicken, pork, some fish. That would be ideal. And then limiting those sweets, limiting the sugar and also the salt in your diet. One easy rule to follow is anything that's whole food. So anything that is not processed would be great for you. That would be your fruits and vegetables. That would be any type of meats, anything that has to be made or processed. So cheeses, anything in a bag or a box, probably not great for you. We want natural things. If it comes from the ground, or if it's walking like it normally is, on land or in the water, that's how we want to eat it. So I would say if you follow those simple rules, you can't go wrong. The other thing is portion control. You don't want to eat too many things. You want to have the right amount of energy and balance based off of your calories. So not consuming too much, but consuming just the right amount for your activity level.
I can also say, as we're getting back into spring and getting outside more, it's great because I'm seeing kids in the neighborhood riding the bikes and doing all that stuff. That being said, you had mentioned the candies and the sweets. Easter was just here.
Right.
So my daughter very quickly knows that all the sweets are around. And so one of the things that we're doing, she just turned 5, Dr. Eustice, and was a great eater as a kid. We'd put it in front of her. She'd eat it, maybe not the whole thing, but she'd eat a little bit of everything. And now she's at that age where it's, I don't like broccoli anymore. I don't like this anymore. I don't like that. So one of the things, parents, maybe this is just a piece of advice for you, is just a smoothie. We give her 1 cup of frozen berries. We put a little bit of water in there. We put a little bit of almond milk in there. Don't even tell her what's in it and let her swig it down. She thinks she's getting a big old treat, and we're secretly high-fiving each other in the other room because we know that she's getting her fruits and veggies like she's supposed to.
One of the things you can add into that is spinach. Spinach, a lot of times, baby spinach that you buy fresh has no taste. So kids, parents, adults even can't really taste that leafy green vegetable, so to speak. It gets hidden in the smoothie, which is great.
I'm writing that one down, Dr. Eustice. Spinach. That's an easy one right there. So are there health problems you're seeing people let fall to the wayside that really should be addressed with everything that's going on? I mean, you can imagine, we talked about stress already, how that can certainly, I'm sure, played a role for a lot of people in the last year or so, but that come to the emergency room, that kind of maintain your regular checkups, your screenings, immunizations, those sorts of things. We got to make sure people are doing that, right?
Yeah. So I will, we get this question a lot. Is it safe to come to the emergency department during the pandemic? And it is. We're taking every precaution here at St. Luke's Network in the emergency departments to make sure that we're safe for ourselves, but also the patients and family members. When you bring your loved one in, we're not going to expose you to COVID. That was always the danger. And so I think a lot of the general public put off coming to the emergency department until the last second, which then could be catastrophic. So one word of encouragement I would say is, if you're concerned that you need some sort of medical treatment, don't put it off. Making sure that you follow up with your doctor like you normally would for your regular routine screenings, getting your regular vaccines that you normally would. And we've seen this a lot in the pediatric population. So our pediatricians aren't seeing the normal kids that they would for their regular well visits. It's extremely important, especially in growing adults, to continue that monthly, yearly, whatever it may be, scheduled visit that your pediatrician wants you to get, because kids need to be seen by a doctor to make sure they're growing up healthy. So yes, we've seen a lot of people neglect their health, their normal, regular, routine visits, for fear of the pandemic. And we want to just ensure the public that you don't have to be afraid to go to your doctor. We're taking every precaution here within the network to make sure you're safe when you come in and see your regular doctor.
So I think to kind of piggyback off of that, we'll come back to the whole stress and anxiety elements and everything that's kind of going on. What steps should people take to manage their feelings and emotions as we're finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with all the stuff that's going on here?
Yeah, so I would, so a couple things to manage stress that we practice as physicians, so myself included. We want to make sure we're getting our activity, our regular activity that we would do. So that's exercise, getting outside. We want to eat healthy. We also want to spend time with our loved ones. And, even if they're very far away from us, so using audio and visual technology like FaceTime or Zoom or whatever it may be, connecting with the people we love on a regular basis helps us stay sane, lowers our stress, and connects us with some sort of sense of community, which I think was very important and lacking in the pandemic when we did a lot of the lockdowns and such. So getting back to that, I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, like we talked, eating healthy, staying active are supplements to feeling connected. And I think now with the springtime and now that we're getting the vaccines, we can start getting those connections with our family and friends back.
So now that we are, we've kind of talked about how people don't need to worry. St. Luke's has got you covered. If you're coming in, if you've got those normal appointments you need to make them. Keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. What regular screenings should people be getting? Now, look, you should feel comfortable getting ready to go to where you have to go, especially with St. Luke's. So what screenings in particular should people be looking to get, set up, appointments, all those things?
So I think first we see it's important to follow up with your regular doctor once a year, your annual physical exam. So they will do routine blood work. They'll check you out, do an exam, make sure nothing's significant is going on. And then depending on your age, your doctor can point you into specific screenings. So colon screenings for individuals over a certain age, your mammograms for women over a certain age, your yearly vaccines. So that would be your flu vaccine, your pediatric vaccines that they get on a regular schedule. Those things can all be sorted out through your family doctor. And so that's why it's very important, if you don't have a physician, to align yourself with one that you can see on a yearly basis, so that just once a year, you check in with your doctor, making sure everything's working fine, making sure you're on track for your health habits and goals. I think that's very important. You'd be surprised how many times I see patients in the emergency department who do not have a regular physician that they see. And most of the time they come to me, and that's not the place you want to be, is in the emergency department, right? So you'd like to not, it's a good day when you're not seeing me, right? So
yeah.
It's always a bad day.
No offense, Dr. Eustice,
No,
but yes, I'll agree with that. Unless you're hosting a podcast, I would probably tend to agree with what you're saying. Yes.
So when I see patients in the emergency department, it's the worst day of their life, right? So
Sure.
You don't want to be there. And so the way you prevent that is to have a regular doctor that you see on a yearly basis, or bi-yearly basis, depending on your situation, to prevent you from getting into those emergencies. So it all depends on what your doctor and you decide for your regular screenings, but that's the most important one, I would say.
So I guess a good place to wrap this conversation up is, okay, we're talking about doctors' offices. We got the little prescription pad out. We're getting ready to write down. So I'll ask you, if you were to write a prescription for healthy living, what would it say?
So I would say, first and foremost, connect with your friends and family on a regular basis. Getting outside, doing some sort of activity, physical activity, get your heart rate up in whatever capacity that may be on a daily basis. And then lastly, I would say eat whole foods every day. Nothing from a bag, nothing from a box, unprocessed foods. I think those are the three big things. And then obviously, managing stress in your life, people do that very differently. So that could be, some people like to meditate. Some people like to write down in a journal, read an interesting book, maybe even watch some TV or go outside for a walk. People handle stress in different avenues, in different ways. So I would say the three things: family, friends, meeting with your family and friends, eating a healthy diet, and then getting some sort of activity.
I think we talked about the stress and anxiety of everything that's gone on throughout this year. And I think a lot of us are so giving of ourselves that maybe we don't stop and think about ourselves a little bit.
Sure.
And it's important. I don't want to use the word selfish, but I think it is important to stop for a beat and take a little bit of time for yourself and really kind of focus, because I can't help fill your cup up if mine's empty. You have to recharge the batteries. You have to take a minute for yourself. Take 15 minutes. If you got the kiddos running around as homeschool was going on and stuff's all over the place, just take 15 minutes to quietly kind of sit with yourself, take a deep breath, and help yourself out a little bit.
And a lot of times the best part of that is as soon as you wake up. So when you wake up in the morning, what do? We go right for our phones, right? It's right next to our bed. Your mind is already flooded with information. Maybe move your phone to the other part of the room. When you wake up, just sit there for a good minute or two. Maybe open up a journal, write some things down that you want to accomplish that day. Those little activities that you can intersperse throughout your day or your week will really help reduce stress, anxiety, and get you onto a better, healthy life.
I am forever a believer in the idea that if you're taking care of all the little things, no matter what it is you're trying to do, if you're taking care of the little things, the big picture will ultimately figure itself out. So don't bite off more than you could chew at one time, and let it kind of just take its time and develop. So he is Dr. Eric Eustice. A wonderful conversation with you today, my friend. He's the director of emergency medicine and the vice president of medical affairs and the emergency department and medical director for St. Luke's Sacred Heart campus. Dr. Eustice, thank you so much. Here's to a 10-mile run sometime soon.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me.